Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Cameron, otherwise known as Sincere Ginger, and today we are going to take a look at the recent monster collecting game Temtem, developed by Crema and published by Humble Bundle. Crema are known for their previous release on consoles and PC, Immortal Redneck, as well as several mobile games featured by Apple. Crema started a Kickstarter campaign to fund the development of Temtem, receiving $573,939 from 11,716 backers, with their initial goal being $70,000. The game was released for Steam Early Access on January 21st, 2020. So I recently completed what's currently available after about 20 hours or so, and I gotta say, I can't wait for more. I'll go ahead and get it out of the way and say that I, as well as several others I'm sure, will be comparing this to Pokemon. But as an avid fan of Pokemon since the original release of Red and Blue in the United States, I was less than pleased with Sun and Moon and outright skipped Sword and Shield. I was so frustrated with the constant hand-holding and endless onslaught of cutscenes that Sun and Moon felt more like a chore than a game to play for fun. Temtem has a story and there are cutscenes, yes, but they're not constantly bombarding you every few steps. You're more or less dropped into the world, you're given a bit of direction, and they send you on your way. Temtem does feature many of the Pokemon series staples. There are currently over 60 Temtem in the game, with plans for over 160 by the time the game is completed. There are a number of different types of Temtem, with every type having advantages and disadvantages over others. The different types are spread out among the 6 islands of the game, with each island seeming to focus on 2 main types. Each Temtem can learn 4 moves at a time to use in combat, but at any time outside of combat they can relearn those moves that have been previously forgotten for others. Speaking of combat, this is where Temtem really differs from Pokemon. Battles are fought in a 2v2 format. Temtem has also opted for a stamina system instead of limiting move usage by power points. Your Temtem have an amount of stamina based on their stats, and each move requires a certain amount of stamina to use. If you opt to use a move and lack the required stamina, your Temtem will overexert itself and take damage. This forces you to really think about which attacks to use to effectively manage your stamina and defeat your opponent. A few other features are borrowed from Pokemon as well, notably TVs and SVs, breeding and follower Temtem. TVs and SVs are training values and single values, which are the Temtem equivalent to Pokemon's effort values and individual values, or EVs and IVs. Try to keep up. SVs and IVs determine your creature's inherent stats in each game, and TVs and EVs can be trained to enhance skills. You can breed to pass on the SVs of the parents in hopes of the offspring having the best stats of both parents. Follower Pokemon were featured in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, as well as Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and have been a highly desired feature since being introduced. Temtem seem to have recognized that desire and implemented it into their game so that your favorite Temtem can follow along behind you during your journey. 2 more key differences between Pokemon and Temtem. Your Pokemon evolve at a specific level, whereas Temtem evolve by gaining a certain number of levels after you acquire them, and progress isn't gated by needing to teach your Temtem certain moves like HMs. Instead, you acquire different equipment that allows you to travel to new areas, such as a surfboard or a rock hook. So, with comparisons to Pokemon out of the way, let's take a look at the rest of the game. The art style strikes me as, what if Wind Waker was a Saturday morning cartoon, which isn't bad at all. There are a few Temtem whose faces are a little unsettling, but they're far more good than bad. Each island looks and feels incredibly different, with locals having different ways of speaking and dressing. Untamed Temtem can be seen in the background or in trees, making the world feel more alive. As for the soundtrack, I started off loving it, but the battle theme gets fairly annoying after hearing it for the better part of 20 hours. There are themes that play during major story battles that I really enjoyed, but for the most part you're going to be hearing one violin-heavy track. The town themes are fitting for the atmosphere, and I found them to be relatively unobtrusive. Overall, nothing too bad. Character interactions are great, especially with your rival. He's not friendly, he's not helpful or handholdy in any way. He's a jerk and does a wonderful job of making you want to beat him, and he makes you work for it. He's no pushover when it comes to battling. There are usually some pretty funny dialogue options with various other characters around the world, and I've found several references to different franchises either in dialogue or a character's design. I've found myself going out of my way to barge into people's homes to talk to everyone in town instead of just blazing onto the next area. Temtem is an MMO, so you see other players on their own adventures with their own Temtem following them. However, outside of trading and battling, there aren't a lot of ways to interact with other players at the moment. I was given the impression from an NPC that there will eventually be an auction house, presumably for selling Temtem, as well as furniture stores to furnish houses in a future update. There currently isn't even a way to chat in-game. Beta is beta though, and I have no doubt that these features and more will be added in future updates. Crema seemed to have done a great job pushing out patches after initial release, so it seems reasonable to assume that they would work on updates to fill out the game fairly quickly. Overall, I think Temtem is an excellent addition to the monster collecting genre and gives longtime Pokemon fans more of what they've been looking for, especially if they haven't been satisfied with recent entries in the franchise. This game consistently makes me want to come back to it, and like I said, I can't wait for the next content update. Temtem is currently available for $34.99 US on Steam, and in my opinion, it's worth every penny with more to come. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. Either way, leave a comment and let me know what you liked or didn't like and what I could improve on. I've actually never done a review like this before, but it was a lot of fun to put together and I would like to try and do more in the future. Thank you, and maybe we'll see you in the next one.